Hello everyone, the name's Sam, hope you're all doing well, and welcome to part 1 of a series called The Evolution of the Five Nights at Freddy's story. Five Nights at Freddy's is an indie game that was released back in 2014 and was created by a man named Scott Cawthon. It became the most popular horror game at the time because of its unique gameplay, the jump scares, and also the mysteries surrounding the game's lore. And after 8 years of countless sequels, spin-offs, books, and merchandise, the franchise is still popular to this day. A big reason why is because of its story and mysteries that keeps expanding and evolving. And that's what this series is gonna be about, how the FNaF story expanded and evolved after every new entry is released, and trying to put the pieces of the story together one entry after another. What I mean by that is, for example, I'm talking about one of the sequels and I'm trying to make a timeline. I only use that game and the previous entries only, so in every part I will talk about the next entry and how it expanded and evolved the story. I'm gonna cut this video into 4 sections: the base story, where we explain the plot of the game; Easter eggs, where I list out all the Easter eggs; speculation, where I theorize and try to explain the Easter eggs and how does it impact the story, and also try to solve the lingering questions; and lastly, the timeline. It's where I put every piece together into one coherent timeline of events. So in this video, I'm going to look at only the first game and try to solve the story only using this game. So, let's begin! The base game. The game starts by showing us a newspaper that has a job offering as a night shift guard at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. When we start our first night, we can see this location looks very run down and old. When we open the cameras, we see the animatronic characters, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, hidden behind a curtain with a sign in front of it that says, "Out of order." Immediately in our shift, we get a phone call from someone.
Hello. I wanted to record a message for you to help you get settled in on your first night.
I'm not gonna play the entire phone call, I'm just gonna talk about things that are important to the lore. Phone call 1. First thing phone guy tells us in this pre-recorded message is that he was the guard before us. He tells us that the company owning the restaurant, Fazbear Entertainment, is not responsible for property or person, and if harm were to happen to someone, they will file a missing persons report in 90 days after the property and premises are cleaned and bleached, which tells us a lot of people either got hurt or died over the years in the restaurant. He tells us that the animatronics have been performing for 20 years. He then tells us that the robots used to walk around during the day. Then there was the bite of 87, where an animatronic bit someone during the day, which caused the victim to remove their frontal lobe and is still alive. That resulted in the animatronics not allowed to walk during the day. They can only walk around only at night. He tells us that the animatronics don't see us as humans, but only sees us as endoskeletons, and will try to stuff us into a suit if they caught us, which will kill us because of the machinery inside the suit. After the first night, we immediately move on to the second night. Phone call 2. Freddy is more active in the dark. We have to watch Foxy because he doesn't like to be watched. After we beat the second night, we move on to the third night. Phone call 3. Phone guy congratulates us for surviving the first 2 nights because most of the guards don't survive that long, which tells us that most guards either quit or die in the first 2 nights. In night 4, we hear phone guy in distress while we also hear banging coming from the door. He tells us to go check the empty suits in the back and is gonna try to hold out.
Oh, hello! Hey, wow, out day 4. I knew you could do it. Hey, listen, I may not be around to send you a message tomorrow. It's been a bad night here for me. I'm kind of glad that I recorded my messages for you when I did. Hey, do me a favor. Maybe sometime you could check inside those suits in the back room. I'm going to try to hold out until someone checks. Maybe it won't be so bad. I always wondered what was in all those empty heads back there. You know. Oh no.
Then we move to the 5th night. Somehow, we get a phone call, but when we pick it up, it's a bunch of monster noises and garble. Then the phone call ends. When we beat the 5th night, we get a check of $120. Our name is Mike Schmidt, and the day is November 12 in an unknown year. We then take an extra shift for overtime, and when we beat it, the company is very generous enough to give us a total of 50 cents. Nice. We then take another shift because Mike hates himself. Then we get fired. Great job, Mike. The reason we're fired is because we're tampered with the animatronics and not showering for a full week. And that's the plot of the game. Simple enough. Easter eggs. Number 1. Very rarely, when we get sent to the title screen, we see the face of Bonnie with blacked out eyes. And after a little bit, 2 white pupils appear in place of the eyes. 2. We sometimes see flashes of the animatronics right in front of us, with the text saying, "It's me." 3. Sometimes when we look at the parts and service camera, we can sometimes see the spare endoskeleton and various heads look straight at the camera. And sometimes we see a dog. Sorry. 4. In the East Halls, we sometimes see writing on the wall saying, "It's me," or 3 posters of crying ghosts. 5. Sometimes when Foxy runs at you, the signs sometimes turn into "It's me." 6. In the right whole corner, we see that the rules of safety changes between 4 newspaper articles telling a gruesome tale. More on that in a bit. 7. And last but not least, in the custom night, if we type in 1987 and start the night, we get the yellow bear jump scare. Speculation. Now that we got the pieces, it's time to speculate and see what the hell happened in this place. Firstly, let's talk about Phone Guy and his explanation of why the robots are trying to kill us. He tells us that the robots see us as endoskeletons and is trying to put us into suits. But that wouldn't make much sense. When we see Bonnie enter the parts and service room, we see a naked endoskeleton sitting there without a suit, and they don't do anything about it. Phone Guy also tells us that the restaurant was open 20 years ago, so when does this game take place? So that means the restaurant was opened in 1973. Now, let's talk about these newspaper clippings. Kids vanish at local pizzeria. Bodies not found. 2 local children were reportedly lured into a back room during the late hours of operation at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza on the night of June 26th. While video surveillance identified the man responsible and led to his capture the following morning, the children themselves were never found and are presumed dead. Police think that the suspect dressed as a company mascot to earn the children's trust. 5 children now reported missing, suspect convicted. 5 children are now linked to the incident at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where a man dressed as a cartoon mascot lured them into a back room. While the suspect has been charged, the bodies themselves were never found. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has been fighting an uphill battle ever since to convince families to return to the pizzeria. It's a tragedy. Local pizzeria threatened with shutdown over sanitation. Local pizzeria Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has been threatened again with shutdown by the health department over reports of foul odor coming from the much beloved animal mascots. Police were contacted when parents reportedly noticed what appeared to be blood and mucus around the eyes and mouths of the animatronics. One parent likened them to reanimated carcasses. Local pizzeria is set to close by year's end, after a long struggle to stay in business after the tragedy that took place there many years ago. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has announced that it will close by year's end. Despite a year-long search for a buyer, companies seem unwilling to be associated with the company. These characters will live on in the hearts of kids. These characters will live on. After reading these, it's quite clear where the kids went. Inside the animatronics, haunting them and the entire restaurant. Now, let's talk about the bite of 87 and who did it. The likely candidate is Foxy, since he has sharp teeth and is out of order. But when we type 1987 in custom night, we get the yellow bear jump scare. So, could it have been him? I think it's unlikely, since this Easter egg was only implemented after the game was released, and when the fanbase believed typing 1987 in custom night and beating the night, they would get a secret on who did the bite of 87. So after Scott saw that, he implemented this Easter egg as a funny scare to an unsuspecting victim. And as you can see...
Don't do it. No, it's too late for that. It's too late.
Oh, shoot! It did its work. So the most likely candidate is Foxy. Now that the pieces are in place, let's make a timeline. Timeline. In 1973, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza opened with characters Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. We don't know if the yellow bear was a character that was later scrapped or stopped being used. We just know that the suit was present somewhere in the location. These animatronics also walk around during the day to entertain. In an unknown year, on June 26th, an employee wears a mascot costume and gains the trust of 2 kids, following him to the back room, dying by his hands and stuffed into the robots. Then 3 more kids go missing as well, and they get stuffed into the suits. 5 kids, 5 characters, which results them to haunt these characters. The suspect was caught thanks to the restaurant's security cameras and later convicted. The company's reputation is slowly being tarnished, and it doesn't help that in 1987 Foxy bit someone during business hours, so the business decides to shut down Pirates Cove and stop allowing the animatronics to walk around during the day. Security guards are hired to watch over the robots. We can assume most of them didn't reach night 5, like Phone Guy. In 1993, Mike Schmidt gets hired as a night watchman. He survives a whole week at Freddy's and gets fired. The company announces that in year's end, Freddy Fazbear's is gonna close down. These characters will live on in the hearts of kids. These characters will live on. And this is the story, so far, of Five Nights at Freddy's. And that's the end of the video. In the next part, we're gonna talk about FNaF 2 and how it expanded the story and mysteries of the FNaF story. Hope you all enjoyed this. I would really appreciate it if you liked, subscribed, comment, all that YouTube shit. And yeah, see you on the next one, guys.